You're at a wedding, or a holiday dinner, or some casual gathering where someone eventually asks the question that everyone asks. So, what do your parents do? It's such a normal question that nobody thinks twice about it. But inside you, something tightens. You pause for half a second longer than most people notice, and then you give a shortened version of the truth. They live in another state. We're not that close. Or the safest one, it's complicated. Because the real answer would change the entire atmosphere of the conversation. The real answer is that you don't talk to them anymore. Not because of some dramatic explosion, not because of a single unforgivable moment, but because something inside you finally stopped pretending that things would change. And the strange part is, even after making that decision, the doubt still lingers. There's a voice that quietly asks, did I give up too easily? Was I too sensitive? Maybe I should have tried harder. Because the world has a very clear story about people who cut off their families. The story is simple. Family is sacred. Blood is thicker than water. And if someone walks away from that bond, the assumption is almost automatic. Something must be wrong with them. They must be cold, selfish, ungrateful. But here's the part that almost never gets talked about. Most people who cut off their families are not the ones who gave up first. They are the ones who tried the longest. They are the ones who drove hours for holidays they dreaded, who rehearsed conversations in their heads for days before making a phone call, who forgave the same behavior again and again because hope is incredibly stubborn when it's attached to the people who raised you. From the outside, estrangement looks like abandonment. From the inside, it often looks like exhaustion. And that difference matters, because what feels like a failure of loyalty might actually be something else entirely. I call it the boundary awakening pattern. The boundary awakening pattern is what happens when someone raised inside a system of emotional invalidation slowly becomes conscious of it. At first, they don't see it clearly. They just feel something, a subtle tension after every conversation, a quiet sense that they're always slightly wrong, that every interaction somehow ends with them apologizing, explaining, or shrinking. Over time, the pattern becomes clearer. But recognizing it creates a painful contradiction, because the same people who hurt you are also the people who raised you, and that conflict can trap someone in a loop for years. The boundary awakening pattern has 3 stages. The first stage is endurance. You normalize the discomfort. You tell yourself, this is just how families are. You minimize your own feelings, because nothing dramatic happened. There were no broken bones, no obvious crime scene, just a steady drip of dismissal. Researchers call this emotional invalidation, and it's subtle enough that outsiders rarely see it. Your achievements are downplayed. Your feelings are exaggerated. Your needs are inconvenient. Who you are feels like something that needs editing, so you adapt. You become easier, quieter, more agreeable. You learn how to keep the peace. But peace built on self-erasure has a cost, and eventually that cost shows up. That's the second stage of the boundary awakening pattern, recognition. Something shifts. Maybe it's therapy. Maybe it's a partner who treats you with a level of respect that suddenly makes your childhood dynamics look strange. Maybe it's becoming a parent yourself and realizing you would never speak to your child the way you were spoken to. And once you see the pattern, you can't fully unsee it. You start noticing the same conversations repeating, the same criticisms, the same refusal to acknowledge harm. And suddenly, the hope that once kept you trying starts to feel heavy, because hope without change becomes a form of self-betrayal. That leads to the final stage, separation. But here's where society gets the story completely wrong. People imagine estrangement as a dramatic declaration, a slammed door, a final argument. In reality, it's often quiet. One missed holiday, one phone call not returned, one moment where you realize that continuing the relationship requires abandoning yourself, and something inside you simply refuses to do that anymore. Let me give you an example. Imagine someone named Daniel. Daniel spent most of his 20s driving 3 hours every Christmas to visit his parents. Every year, the pattern was identical. His job wasn't good enough, his partner wasn't the right choice, his personality was too sensitive. Nothing explosive, just a consistent reminder that the person he was didn't quite fit in his own family. For years, he told himself it would change. It didn't. And eventually, he skipped one holiday, then another. Not out of anger, out of clarity. From the outside, it looked like Daniel abandoned his family. But what actually happened is that Daniel stopped abandoning himself. Nature offers a powerful metaphor for this. In ecology, when a plant grows in soil that constantly strips nutrients away, it eventually stops investing energy in that direction. It doesn't hate the soil, it simply redirects its growth somewhere it can survive. That's what the boundary awakening pattern really is. It's psychological redirection. But here's the part that makes this process so emotionally complicated. Even after someone leaves, the grief doesn't disappear. Because estrangement isn't just the loss of a relationship, it's the loss of a possibility. The parent you hoped they would become, the sibling bond that never quite formed, the fantasy of a family that existed everywhere except your own home. That grief can show up in strange places. Seeing someone who looks like your mother in a grocery store, explaining to your kids why they don't see certain grandparents, watching friends argue with their families, and secretly wishing your relationship was normal enough to argue like that. And sometimes the grief is paired with something else. Relief. Not dramatic relief, quiet relief. Like the background noise of your life finally turned off. For the first time, your nervous system is not preparing for the next criticism or emotional ambush. That quiet can feel strange at first, because if you grew up inside constant tension, peace can feel unfamiliar. But here's where a second tension emerges. Even after leaving, many people struggle with something deeper: self-doubt. They wonder if they misread the situation, if they were too harsh, too sensitive, if maybe they should have tolerated more. This is the shadow side of the boundary awakening pattern, because people who were raised with emotional invalidation were trained to distrust their own perception. So even after they leave, that internal voice keeps questioning the decision. But there's a structural shift that changes everything. Instead of asking, was it bad enough to leave, ask a different question. Was it healthy enough to stay? That reframing moves the focus away from proving harm and towards evaluating well-being. And it reveals something important. Relationships are not sustained by obligation. They are sustained by reciprocity, mutual respect, emotional safety. When those elements are missing for years, walking away is not impulsive. It's a boundary finally being honored. Practically, the boundary awakening pattern requires 3 internal adjustments. The first is redefining loyalty. You were likely taught that loyalty means staying no matter what, but real loyalty includes loyalty to your own well-being. Without that, loyalty becomes self-sacrifice. The second adjustment is allowing grief without interpreting it as regret. You can mourn the family you hoped for while still knowing the distance was necessary. Grief and clarity can exist at the same time. The third adjustment is building chosen ecosystems. Humans are social organisms. When biological families fail to provide emotional safety, people naturally build alternative networks, friends, partners, mentors, communities. These connections don't replace family, but they prove something essential. Belonging is not limited to blood. It's built through recognition, through people who see you clearly and still want you in the room. If you've ever cut off your family, or even considered it, you've probably been told a certain story about yourself, that you're dramatic, unforgiving, disloyal. But what if the opposite is true? What if the reason it hurts so much is because you care deeply, because you tried for years before you stopped, because the love you had simply didn't have a safe place to land? The boundary awakening pattern isn't about rejecting family. It's about recognizing when the conditions for real connection don't exist, and choosing not to destroy yourself trying to create them alone. If you've walked that path, it doesn't mean you're broken. It means you noticed something important. You noticed that love cannot survive without respect, that belonging cannot grow where identity must shrink, and that sometimes
the most painful decision a person makes is also the one that protects their future. The world likes simple stories, but real psychological growth is rarely simple. Sometimes it looks like rebuilding your idea of family from the ground up. Sometimes it looks like silence where there used to be chaos. And sometimes it looks like sitting at someone else's holiday table, realizing something surprising. You didn't lose your capacity for love. You just stopped giving it to places that couldn't hold it. And that realization is not a failure of loyalty. It's the beginning of self-respect. If this resonated with something you've been carrying quietly, stay with this channel. Not for easy answers, for deeper articulation. Because sometimes the most powerful shift in a person's life is not learning something new, it's finally having language for something they've felt for years.